Hi, children. Welcome back to Sunday School. Thanks for joining me for another Sunday School lesson on YouTube. So I'm wondering, did you make your stone soup yet? If you haven't, come by and pick up your recipe. So last Sunday, I read to you the Bible story of Jesus feeding 5,000, and I read it to you from the book of Matthew. This morning, I want to read to you from the book of John, also titled Feeding 5,000. John tells the same story, except there is a slight difference. So listen as I read to you the Bible lesson from our New Testament, the book of John, chapter 6, verses 9 through 13. Jesus crossed Lake Galilee. A large crowd had seen him working miracles to heal the sick, and those people went with him. It was almost time for the Jewish festival of Passover, and Jesus went up on a mountain with his disciples and sat down. When Jesus saw the large crowd coming toward him, he asked Philip, "Where will we get enough food to feed all these people?" He said this to test Philip, since he already knew what he was going to do. Philip answered, "Don't you know that it would take almost a year's wages just to buy only a little bread for each of these people?" Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one of the disciples. He spoke up and said, "There is a boy here who has 5 small loaves of barley bread and 2 fish. But what good is that with all these people?" The ground was covered with grass, and Jesus told his disciples to have everyone sit down. About 5,000 men were in the crowd. Jesus took the bread in his hands and gave thanks to God. Then he passed the bread to the people, and he did the same with the fish until everyone had plenty to eat. The people ate all they wanted, and Jesus told his disciples to gather up the leftovers so that nothing would be wasted. The disciples gathered them up and filled 12 large baskets with what was left over from the five loaves of barley bread. I really like this Bible story. In this chapter of John, it tells us that a small boy gave Jesus the small loaves of bread and the 2 small fish. And one reason that I love this story told from John is because it tells us that a small boy was the one who came and gave Jesus the 5 small loaves and 2 small fish. And you know, I tell you children all the time that you are the ones that will help make this world a better place. I truly believe that. I've heard your hearts, and I know how much you care about others. And so this story really speaks to me. Why do you suppose this boy had 5 small loaves of bread and 2 small fish in the first place? Was this his lunch that his mom packed for him? Or maybe it was the bread and fish that he was trying to sell for money that he would bring home to his family. We really don't know for sure why this small boy had 5 small loaves and 2 small fish, but our Bible tells us that it was that small boy who gave his 5 small loaves and 2 small fish to Jesus. This small child gave what he had, even though he probably knew it wasn't enough to feed the huge crowd of hungry people. Besides the small loaves of bread and the 2 fish, what else did this boy have? He had faith in Jesus, didn't he? And he had compassion for those who were hungry. What else did he have? He cared about others and wanted to help in any way he could. That's the thing about Jesus. Jesus asks us to give what we have, and he will do the rest. Jesus calls us to be like that small child who has faith. And Jesus calls us to be like that small child who has compassion for others. Jesus calls us to be like that small child who cares about others' needs and share what we have in order to help someone else. And when we do that, miracles happen. So last week I read to you a book titled Stone Soup. This book I'm going to read today is also called Stone Soup. But this is a retelling of the ancient and widely circulated legend. But this storyteller, Heather Forrest, shows that when each person makes a small contribution, the combined effect can be huge. So listen as I read to you another story called Stone Soup. And this one is retold by Heather Forrest and illustrated by Susan Gaber. There once was a comfortable little village nestled in the mountains. The people who lived there had more than enough to keep themselves content. One day, 2 travelers came along. Their coats were tattered, their hats were torn, and their dusty shoes had holes in their soles. Hungry and tired, one traveler said to the other, "Surely someone here can spare a bit of food." They knocked boldly on a door. It creaked open, and a woman asked, "What do you want?" "Please," said one of the travelers, "we are hungry. Do you care? Will you share? Do you have any food?" The woman squinted her eyes and tartly replied, "No," and she quickly slammed the door shut. The travelers walked a little farther down the road and knocked on another door. A young boy answered. His chocolate brown eyes were sweet. "Good day," he said shyly. "What do you want?" "Please," said one of the travelers, "we are hungry. Do you care? Will you share? Do you have any food?" And the boy replied, "There is no food here," and he closed the door. The travelers wandered wearily through the village, knocking on every door. But everywhere they heard, "I don't care. I won't share. There is no food." They sat to rest beside a well. One traveler sighed and clutched his empty belly. And he said, "If there is really no food in this elegant little village, then the people who live here are in greater need than we are. We should make them our magical soup." The 2 gentlemen climbed up on the edge of the well and shouted, "We are master cooks. If anyone in this town has a big black pot, we will make the most delicious soup anyone ever tasted." A door slowly opened. A round man emerged carrying a gigantic black pot. "I love to eat," he said. "Here's a pot. Let me see what 2 master cooks can do with it." "Watch and see," said one traveler with glee. The travelers filled the pot with cold water and built a fire. Soon the flames licked the sides of the pot and billows of steam rose into the air. Curious people began to gather. "What is happening?" the townspeople asked. "We are making an unusual soup," said one of the travelers. "It requires a special magical ingredient. I'm certain we will find it in this town." All the eyes in the crowd watched as one of the travelers reached down and picked up an ordinary stone. He tossed it into the pot with a splash. "We're making stone soup," he said. "It will be nutritious, delicious, incredible, and edible. But it would taste better," he paused and sighed, "if we only had a carrot." "Where would we find a carrot in this town?" the other traveler asked. "We knocked on every door, and everywhere we heard, 'I don't care. I won't share. There is no food.' Then perhaps we cannot make the delicious soup after all," they both announced with a sad shrug on their shoulders, and began to turn away. A child timidly raised her hand and said, "Wait! I might have a small carrot." "Excellent," shouted the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." "This magical soup would taste even better if we had a potato," they added. A deep voice from the back of the crowd called out, "I have a potato." "Wonderful," shouted the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." "It would taste better still," they said, "if we had just a few more ingredients." "Perhaps," said one villager, I could bring a green bean." "Well," said another, "if you're going to bring a green bean, I will bring a kernel of corn." "I shall not be outdone," cried another. "I will bring an egg noodle." One by one, voices announced, "I will bring a slice of celery. I will bring a pinch of pepper. I can bring a sprig of parsley. I might have a tiny turnip." "Well, why are we waiting?" cried the travelers. "Bring what you've got. Put it in the pot. We're making stone soup." Everyone in the town ran home to bring one small thing to put into the pot. Food flew through the air and landed with splashes in the growing soup. Soon the huge pot was full and simmering. A wonderful smell drifted through the air. The smell was so tempting. People brought out bowls and spoons, chairs and tables. They placed hearty loaves of bread, chunks of cheese, and bowls of fruit on the tablecloths. Everyone came to taste the soup and marveled at the flavor. "It's amazing," said one woman. "Those two travelers made such a delicious soup out of a stone." "Out of a stone," said the travelers with a grin, "and the magical ingredient, sharing." As the travelers left the town, they said, "If anyone ever wants to make this soup again, just remember the recipe. Bring what you've got, put it in the pot. Every bit counts, from the largest to the least. Together we can celebrate a stone soup feast." That's the end of this story of the stone soup. Don't you love that? Do you remember the Bible verse from last week? Say it with me. "A new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." This week, if you haven't made your stone soup yet, come and get the recipe. I'll have it for you in the children's craft bin. It'll be there waiting for you. If you've made the stone soup already, tell me what you made it with and who made it with you. What did you put in your stone soup? I'd love to hear from you. So send it to my email address. I can't wait to hear about how your stone soup turned out. This week, consider making more stone soup. Or think about maybe making cookies with your family. Start off with the simple ingredients of sugar, butter, flour. Then let your family decide what they'd like to add to the sweet cookies. Add what you have. Maybe you have chocolate chips or nuts or M&Ms or coconut. What else might you add to your cookie dough? Have fun using what you've got and add it to your cookie batter and see what you end up with. Then, just like the stone soup, consider sharing your sweet cookies with someone who might need to be lifted up, or give it to someone who might feel lonely, or give it to your crossing guard as you go off to school, or your babysitter, or your teacher. Share them with someone. We're all called to care for one another and to share what we have with others, to show love to one another. Let's say our Bible verse again. Say it with me. "A new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." Have a wonderful week, everyone. I'll see you the next time when I will teach you another Bible story where Jesus shows us how to love one another. May the peace of God be with you today and always. Stay safe. Do all the things that you need to do to stay safe and to keep others safe. And be kind to one another. Have fun making your stone soup and your cookies. See you soon. Bye-bye.